Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. We are finally done with the regular version of Age of Overlord reveals. We have those clean, original 80 cards revealed. Obviously, when this gets to the TCG, there'll be 20 other cards, exclusives, and imports, combined to kind of make our version of the set. But as far as that base version of the set, we are done. We got the final reveals last night, and I want to do a super early discussion video talking about my overall impressions on the set. Now, this is all based off of my opinion on the cards that have been revealed so far. It's literally not even out in the OCG, so there is no data on how any of this stuff is going to perform, but we'll probably have some in the weeks to come here. But it's really exciting. I think this is actually a pretty cool set. I'll give you kind of like my rating on this set out of 10 when we get to it at the end. And you guys know, generally, if you've seen these videos before, how I like to rank sets. I break it up into three main categories. The first category is brand new archetypes, new stuff that hits the scene, and depending on how exciting it is, and we're keeping this more related to the competitive scene, I tend to look for archetypes that are at least having some good rogue potential, if not higher. Those are what get me most excited there. Then we look at the legacy support, archetypes that already exist and how good their support is, and if it pushes some decks to rogue or higher level based on the stuff in this set, as well as generic cards that can apply to a multitude of different archetypes, and how good those cards are and how they might make a big impact generically on the format as a whole. So those are the three categories. We're going in that order, and then we'll talk at the end on my overall impressions of the set. So let's get into this thing. Starting off here, we have our brand new archetypes. First and foremost is Diabel Star. To me, this one of the three new archetypes has the most potential out the gate. Keep in mind, when we get new archetypes, they're all due to get more support in the next following set, so things can change pretty quick there. But at least for just where they're at on this first wave, I think Diabel Star has the most going for it so far. It doesn't take your normal summon. It's almost like an Eldritch-esque engine in that it just keeps rotating resources every turn, keeps getting you a new interruption every turn, and they have a big beefy boss monster that gets you a lot of value. Just really good archetype, I think. I think we'll see this combined with other archetypes. I've already seen online videos of testing with like this and Eldritch together in just the most grindy deck you've ever seen. We'll see if that's a new nuisance we have to deal with, but has some good potential. Next up, we have Snake Eye. I think after this set, Snake Eye will not be there just yet. Maybe we'll see some fringe like rogue tops, and some people have like some good success with it, but not in large volume. It feels like a first wave. It feels like it's got a cool gimmick, it's got a set of first cards, but it's not all put together yet. They need another wave in the next set to really, really cement what this archetype is going to be, and that's kind of what I'm looking forward to there. And then next up lastly we have Horus. This is a new Horus archetype. It's cool. I'm worried this is just going to end up being part of like a lot of pile decks that just play like really powerful engines, because this engine certainly has an immensely high ceiling, but you have to play a couple bricks. So if you can kind of handle that and make that work, this engine is really scary. It can get you potentially 4 level 8 monsters off of 1 card and a couple discards. I guess technically 3 discards, but as long as you're playing a deck that wants to be discard anyway, you're fine. So it's scary for sure, but it also seems fragile. So I'm not sure if it's going to be all the way there just yet. But I still think there's already potential for it competitively. We'll just have to see what kind of combinations like people are going to come up with to throw this in, because it's not enough to be its own deck by itself. So those are 3 new archetypes. Honestly, pretty good. It's nowhere near Sprite and Tier Limit on drop, but we've got 1 archetype that could be high level right out the gate, 1 deck that could be combined into some other high level combo-ish type decks, and 1 deck that has really good potential going forward. I would say that's a pretty damn good way to land 3 new archetypes in 1 set. Alright, from there we move to Legacy support. Let's start with the cover card stuff. We have the Supreme King support. This is cool. I do think this support makes Supreme King one of those Pendulum decks you just consider. If you want to play Pendulum, you look at Draco Slayer, you look at this, you look at Pendulum Magician, you look at Zephyra, and you make a decision. I think they're all kind of in a similar realm in terms of how good they are. And so I think this one just joins the fray. It's a playable Pendulum deck. It's rogue now. probably. So it's cool. We'll see some people messing around with it, I'm sure. Next up, we have some Visa Starfrost support. Honestly, pretty underwhelming overall, I would say, from the Visa stuff as a whole. This card's a nice extender, but to be honest, a lot of the other stuff seems too niche, and it almost kind of feels like we're getting to the end of the Vsauce lore, because we're getting like just a lot of kind of pack filler cards to kind of expand the lore, but don't end up being as good competitively. But it's still there, and it's Visa stuff, so it could easily come up. And then TG is the other one that gets like really big support here. They got like 5 or 6 new cards. They may be a rogue strategy. They're a pretty scary combo deck when they pop off. They do have some really powerful effects now, which is kind of funny because they got like 1 main deck monster, 2 spells, and then the rest of the support is just like all extra deck monsters. But they're pretty strong, so watch out for TGs post this set. Okay, next up we have Labyrinth. They get 1 new card here. I know I kind of poo-pooed this in my review. I don't believe this card changes everything. Everybody looked at like the one exact scenario where this card is absolutely broken, and that is true. That will come up. But I feel like there's going to be way more duels where this card is really underwhelming than it is like absolutely insane win you the duel on draw kind of thing. So consistency, I think, is a worry there, but it is a card to consider. It certainly is, and I don't want to poo-poo that at least. So it is another option for Labyrinth. I don't know how they hit Labyrinth, to be honest. Like, unless, even if they put like big Welcome to 1, then you just play more copies of regular Welcome, and the deck is still like probably in a good position. So unless they ban one of the 2 trap cards, like I don't see this deck really getting nerfed that much, to be honest. All right, moving on. Vanquish Soul. They get this card in a new trap. The trap's pretty poo, but this is a better fire target for them. This is a marginal gain for Vanquish Soul, I would say. It's not too crazy, but it is a nice card for them. It does raise the ceiling of what the deck can do, but it's not everything. It's just nice. It's just fine. So that works, and we'll rock with it when it comes out. We'll be able to replace the slime with it. Next up, Octoadic. This is cool. I do think they get 2 new cards here. The spell is crazy. I have the monster here representing it. This card's nice for a more pure variant, but the spell is actually kind of crazy. Like, tributes any reptile, and then you summon, you get tokens to your field up to the level of the monster, divided by 2, essentially. For every 2 levels it had, you get a new token. So if you tribute a 4, you get 2 tokens. If you tribute an 8, you get 4 tokens. And I don't believe that card has any restriction on it. So if you can just land a level 8 reptile on the field, you could just get 4 bodies out of it. And that just allows you to kind of run wild with some generic links, some of the stuff the deck has struggled with to get to a little bit easier, like Cosmic Slicer, a little bit easier. And it's a pretty good card. So we'll see. Next up, we have Nouvelle. They get 2 new cards here. This one's really nice. The spell is also quite nice. I don't know if it's going to be enough to get Nouvelle cooking just yet, but it's nice. It's a nice step in the right direction. Nushino bird support. Pretty cool. I don't know enough about Shino birds. I don't know if they're just too fragile to really handle a lot of stuff, but they get some cool cards here for sure. I'm sure some people will mess around with it. Another Baphomet fusion. This card's quite good. On summon, it foolishes any beast, fiend, or illusion, and has the ability to reborn any beast, fiend, or illusion from banish, which is quite good. So really good value card. Really good like fusion climbing card. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up seeing play at some point. Earthbound Servant, 1 new fusion for them with their new engine that got released. It's pretty good, and this one kind of just adds in there. If you can just fusion summon this, it just allows you to add any Earthbound monster from deck to hand. So good value, allows you to get some of those extenders or starter if you're able to get to this prior, but still a nice card for that engine to add in there. Nimleria gets another trap card. This is nice. They need interruption. They needed ways to go first. This does add to that, but I still don't feel too overwhelmed by that engine. Angel Ring, new equip support card. It's cool. As long as you have it and another equipped to a monster, you can negate the first spell card your opponent activates every turn. That's not bad. There's definitely going to be some times where that's really good, especially if it's like a sold combo deck and being able to like not lose to Dark Ruler type thing. That's pretty nice. Synchro Rumble, this is like a more RDA support. They just got their structure deck in the OCG, so like this is just going to fall in with that, give them more cards to maybe mess around with. Dinosaurs get a new Link 3, but from what I've heard from Dinosaur players, it's not that good, but I threw it on here because it's Dinos. Watts get new support. If you're a fan of Watts, that's really exciting, but I will tell you, this has no competitive aspirations whatsoever, so keep that in mind. And that's it for the Legacy support. All in all, I would actually say the Legacy support in this set is actually a little underwhelming. I think to Dune, in which these sets are very differently structured, and I think relatively speaking, this support is a little bit underwhelming overall. I think it's not terrible. There are definitely some archetypes here that get some support that's very welcome, but we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. Now I get to the final section, which is all generic cards. We got this card revealed last night. It's a new trap card. It's kind of like Compulse, but it takes it to a much higher ceiling, potentially, for you, which is really cool. It's really a quite decent removal trap. It could see play in something like Labyrinth or any other trap deck that was just wants good generic traps. It's pretty good. Fire support. We know this is the year of Fire, 2023. Fire Recovery is a good Monster Reborn card that gets you a draw later on, which I like. That's pretty solid. Infernal Flame Banshee. This is a completely generic rank 4 that gets you a search on for any Pyro monster or send it to grave. Really good as well for just Pyro stuff in general. Those could both come up in good ways. This little package is super interesting because technically I think it's supposed to be like Shark support because Sharks can make like 3s, 4s, or 5s. But here's what I think it is, really more than anything, is like a new Zeus package. So this guy can draw you one card by detaching its 2 materials. Then you can overlay into this guy, and then there's even a third guy. And so what this gives you is the potential to just like kind of still make a big Zeus while also drawing a card. So it's cool. I don't think any of their bonus effects are really that amazing aside from the draw, just getting a draw while going into Zeus, but it still has some cool potential. I definitely am going to mess around with this and see what decks can kind of play with this overall, because it is pretty damn generic. If you could just make a 3 or even a 5, you're able to support Zeus a little easier in those types of decks, so that's cool. New Pendulum Link monster. This card is kind of like the next version up from Beyond the Pendulum. I think a lot of decks that play Beyond the Pendulum will take advantage of this card. You make Beyond, it gets you your scales or whatever you need for a big pen summon. You make that pen summon, and then you link up into this, and then this gets you more value. It like adds a card from extra deck back to hand. It summons a Pendulum monster from grave. It really is good. It's like another version. It is very Selene-esque, I think, overall, but the fact that Selene is like kind of locked into spellcasters, this is not. So some of those Pendulum decks that don't really, like, that aren't like Pendulum Magician based and stuff like that, this card's able to still affect them and be really useful in those decks. So I do still think this will see play in some decks here and there. This makes me think we still probably won't get Electromite anytime soon because we have Beyond in this, which are like almost, you know, they're a good percentage of what Electromite does. But still, very cool. New Zeus-ish monster. This guy is crazy. He pretty much allows a lot of mid-range decks that struggle going second to have a really, really good tool. This card does not even require you to make an Exceed monster first. You can plop this on any monster as long as your opponent has summoned from the extra deck twice in that turn and the turn before, I believe. And then this card can bounce a card, and it has a floodgate that negates, says monsters with 3,000 or more attack cannot activate their effects. So big beefy boards get turned off by this, then you get a free removal, and he's 29/29 to walk over something else. He is really a juggernaut of a card. I really think he could be just one of those cards that's like not overly broken, because it is still a little bit niche and it is going to be beatable in a good amount of scenarios depending on the board you're looking at. But I do think it's one of those cards that does kind of help even the odds in terms of going first versus going second generically in Yu-Gi-Oh! Which is really exciting, I think. And the last card we have here for generic stuff is SP Little Knight. Very cool card that I think this now becomes probably the best IP Masquerena target to summon off of it on the opponent's turn, because it banishes something if it uses an extra deck monster as material. And then it has like an effect where whenever your opponent activates any card or effect, you can pretty much Farfa 2 monsters, including one you control until the end of the turn. So it's kind of 2 interruptions on the opponent's turn. It's a really good generic card. I'm excited to mess with this. It's a really cool, like, mid-rangey card. So yeah, I think it's well designed. I think it's good, but not overly broken. But I think it'll see a lot of consistent play in the game for sure. So yeah, that's everything I have from the set. Overall, I would say the generic cards are pretty nice. Between that Exceed and the 2 Link monsters and fire support, there's some legit, like, high-end, and the new, like, stuff that facilitates Zeus. There's some legit in the new trap card. There's, like, some legit high-end potential here for some of these cards. Is there anything that's, like, legit as high-end of, like, prosperity, where, like, now everything plays prosperity? Maybe not, but I do think there's, like, a handful of different cards that, like, are gonna put their stamp on the game in their own way. I mean, that's pretty exciting. So I would give that high marks as well. So overall, when I look at this set and I compare it to something like Dune, the most recent set that we're getting in the TCG in like a week, I would say Dune did not have, actually, I think other than the TCG exclusive archetype, Tistina, they don't even have a brand new archetype aside from that in it. They do have some support. And then the generic cards are also kind of just okay. It's a Revolution Synchron and a couple of other things, but I would say this set's generic cards definitely outclass that. So I would say Dune has way better legacy support. I think we had Unchained, Infernoble, Altergeist. I know there's one, Rescue Ace, right? Those are 4 right there decks that, like, were not competitively relevant at all, and now they're gonna, like, jump into, like, potentially all tier 2 status or higher, or at least high rogue status to above. And I think that's really cool. I know there are some stuff here that's going to jump a little bit, but I'm not sure how many things are really jumping as high as, like, those archetypes are, and, like, 4 different ones. So I do think it gets outclassed a little bit there, but I think that's probably also a result of this set has 3 new archetypes. That set had none before Tistina. And this deck has this set has better generic cards too, so it's kind of hard for Konami to hit on every single category like that. But I still think it's quite good. I would give this set right now an 8 or a 7 or an 8 out of 10. I think, like, it's pretty good. The legacy support is okay, but not great. But the generic cards are really good. I mean, you've got 2 extract monsters that almost any player would want to pick up. You've got some fringe stuff like Pendulum support, more Zeus supporters, Pyro support, and a new generic trap. So, like, there's a good amount of stuff there no matter what you play, no matter what kind of competitive player you are. There's going to be stuff you probably want out of that. I think it's a good set. I really do. We're going to get the second wave of Tistina as well later on, so some of that, the last 20 cards of that set will definitely play a factor in here as well, especially for us TCG players. But overall, it's good. I think it's a cool set. I'm excited for a good amount of the stuff from the set for sure, but those are just my thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below what you want to see out of this set. I really want to know what you guys are most excited for from this new set, because I think it's a pretty good one. And I'm glad we made it through. It's a cool set, and it's going to be strong. So I'm out of here for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, as always. Let me know your thoughts down below on Age of Overlord, what your favorite things are from the set, what you're looking forward to the most. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Subscribe if you haven't. Peace.